Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on the Taming of the Shrew, and we only have today and tomorrow, and then we're done with it. That sort of snuck up on me. But anyway, today we get to hear from, surprise, surprise, Petruchio, yet again. We are in what some versions call Act 4, Scene 5, what others, including the folio, might consider to be about Act 4, Scene 3. Anyway, we're somewhere in Act 4, and Petruchio and Catherine and Hortensio are on their way to Baptista's house. It's unclear at this point whether or not Bianca is already married. Petruchio makes a statement. He's actually going to make a statement in today's monologue about how Bianca is married, but we haven't seen her get married yet. So anyway, that bit's a little bit up in the air. But anyway, before they left to go to Baptista's house, Petruchio was super gaslighting Catherine. He's trying to tame her by starving her, depriving her of sleep, and just saying the opposite of anything. So when a beautiful dress is brought to her, he's like, no, that dress is crap, take it away. And when a nice hat is brought, he's like, it's the wrong size, take it away. And when they left Petruchio's place, he was like, oh, we'll be there by dinner time because it's like 7 o'clock now. And Catherine was like, no, it's really like 2 o'clock right now. And he's like, it's 7 if I say it's 7. And then yesterday we had a little scene where, yes, Bianca is going to get married theoretically to Lucentio, but Lucentio is currently Tranio, and the real Lucentio is pretending to be Cambio, and she's actually kind of in love with Cambio. But Tranio found a pedant to play the part of Lucentio's father so that all of the right documents can be filled out, the right dowries promised, and all of that sort of a thing. Whether or not they're actually going to come through is another story. But then Biondello told Lucentio that since the real Lucentio is the one that's supposed to take Bianca to the church, if he takes her there like now, the priest is waiting so they can get married before she's supposed to marry somebody else. So anyway, we've got that in the works too. But in this particular scene for today, whatever you want to call this scene, we have Petruchio, Catherine, and Hortensio on their way to Baptista's place. And as they're riding along, Petruchio's like, oh, look at that lovely moon. And Catherine's like, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the sun. And he's like, it's the moon if I say it's the moon. She's like, no, really, that's the sun. I know what the sun is. And Hortensio's like, just tell him it's the moon so that he'll shut up. So she's like, oh, wow, look at that lovely moon. And Petruchio's like, you idiot, that's the sun. And she's like, oh, wow, look at that lovely sun. And he's like, you're so confused. You're all over the place. And she's like, whatever it is that you're going to name it, that's what I'll call it. And my, isn't it lovely? And then they see a man coming down the road who happens to be Vincencio, who is Lucentio's father, his actual father. Vincencio is coming, he's like looking for his son, but they see him coming down the road, and Petruchio's like, look at this old woman approaching. And Catherine's like, yes, isn't she lovely? And he's like, haha, you're stupid, it's an old man. And she's like, yes, and he's probably wise. Right now, she's just feeding him the answers that he wants to hear, so that he'll stop berating her about things. But Hortensio feeds to Petruchio. He's like, haha, you tamed her, congratulations. So whoever it is that's playing Catherine, if you're the one playing Catherine right now, you get to decide whether or not she's actually broken or whether she's playing along with his gaslighting so that he will stop berating her. You get to pick where she actually is mentally. So anyway, Vincencio approaches and they're like, hey, who are you? And he's like, my name's Vincencio and I'm looking for my son who I haven't seen in forever. And they're like, what's your son's name? And he says, Lucentio. And Petruchio says, happily met, the happier for thy son. And now, by law, as well as reverend age, I may entitle thee my loving father. The sister to my wife, this gentlewoman, thy son by this hath married. Wonder not, nor be not grieved, she is of good esteem, her dowry wealthy and of worthy birth. Beside, so qualified as may beseem the spouse of any noble gentleman. Let me embrace with old Vincencio, and wander we to see thy honest son, who will of thy arrival be full joyous. So this is a happy greeting for Vincencio. He's like, oh, sweet, my wife is married to my wife is the sister of your son's wife. So you're kind of my dad too. He's like, we're family. We're all family. And don't worry, the woman that your son married is like of noble birth, and she will bring honor to your family and all that sort of thing. He's like, let's go. We're all going in the same direction. So let's go off in the same direction and get to where they are so we can celebrate with them. And Vincenzio's like, okay, cool, I'm coming along. And everybody leaves except for Hortensio, who's like, you know what? Congrats, he did it. He broke her. This is done. My time here is done. So he goes off to find the widow that he said he was going to marry. And he goes off to find her and marry her. And that's the end of this particular scene. Now, according to the folio, we're still in Act 4 for like one more scene, which I'll fill you in on tomorrow, before we get to Act 5. In other versions, Act 5 has 2 scenes, so we're never going to get back on track in terms of what scene we're in and that sort of thing. But it's okay, because there's only one day left of this, and that's all of that is sort of beside the point anyway. So tomorrow we'll wrap up the story. We'll do a little wrap up. We'll have a little thought exercise as to what you think of the whole play, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for that. Mwah.